Hey guys, we're live from the Brojo.
Yeah.
I'm here with Ryan.
Hello.
I'm Kenny Banyas.
I'm Ryan Freeman.
It's not a good, it's not a good conversation today, Ryan. It's kind of a sad one.
Nah, yeah, we got some pretty heavy news to talk about
Right.
today.
It's Chester Bennington of Linkin Park has passed away from suicide at age 41.
Yep.
Uh, it's surreal.
It is. I still, as soon as one of my friends texted me around noon saying that, and I just thought it was kind of one of those bullshit, like, fake news stories
Right.
that fly around about celebrities all the time, so I had to Google it and shit to just see if it was real.
Right.
And then I saw like all these like news articles and stuff, and then I went on Facebook and all the like music magazine Facebook pages that I follow were posting about it, and I was like, shit, like that actually happened. It does still feel a bit like it's not real.
Right. No, I 100% feel you on that. Like, Linkin Park was like a major like staple, I think, for all of us.
I think Linkin Park's a major staple just for anyone that was growing up around the time that we were.
Right.
Like, I don't know, like a single kid around my age that didn't go like through middle school or high school and just blast the shit out of like Meteora or Hybrid Theory and
right.
shit.
Who didn't learn on the piano the intro to In the End? Let's just be honest here. Like everyone, like learned that.
Yeah.
If you had a piano, you're like, all right, I'm gonna learn In the End.
It's such like I don't know. They're such just an iconic band.
Right, and it's just
like they're literally one of those bands that like years from now when like we're all dead and they're like in school talking and in history class when you kind of talk about like the music and stuff that people had back then, I'm 100% positive that Linkin Park's gonna be one of those bands that pops up.
like just reading, I'm like on my Facebook page right now, and just everyone's just bringing up how Hybrid Theory was like one of their first 3 CDs that they had.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just
That is, well, I mean, I remember for me, like, when Meteora dropped, that was around the time that I first started getting into kind of like hard rock and like metal and stuff like that. Like, the first rock bands I ever listened to were Disturbed, Slipknot, Crossfade, and Linkin Park. For the longest time, those were the only 4 rock bands that I had on my iPod.
right, and it's just I remember listening to Crawling. Like, that's like all-time favorite song.
Mm-hmm.
That and like everyone says Numb, but Breaking the Habit was like my favorite song of all from Linkin Park. Like,
I love
Breaking the
Habit.
And he like
A Place for My Head is one of the songs that really got me into Linkin Park.
Right.
When I first popped in Hybrid Theory and was kind of going through that, just I don't know, like they were a very unique band.
They still are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just watching like Mike Shinoda reacts to teenagers reacting to Linkin Park.
Yeah.
And like he's like, yeah, dude, they was so weird our first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all look so different. And like, if you've heard Fort Minor's album,
Mm-hmm.
You hear like Mike Shinoda explaining like what him and Chester were doing. Like, like there's that like cutscene, and like you hear like what the music industry wanted them to do, and like they're like, yeah, they wanted Chester in a lab coat and a cowboy hat, and everyone's like, dude, nah, it's fucking weird. Like, it's just, it is. It's like, I don't know what to like how to think about it. Like, just he had such a unique voice.
He did, and he had his scream was so cool.
Right.
He had one of the coolest screams in rock.
Because it like started really small, and then
it did.
Whoa, just went like.
And there was actually a video I was watching that kind of was like showing like the science behind Chester's scream and stuff. And one of the things about it is you could actually hear like multiple different pitches within his scream, and they were all coming out at once, and that made for that really unique sound that his scream had.
Right. And I think the one thing that like hits me hard is like it was a suicide.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that. Yeah. Especially because I mean, like I've been jamming Linkin Park all day now,
Right.
Just because of that, and I was listening to Heavy, which is off their newest album, which is actually one of my favorite Linkin Park songs. I really love that song, and that song just takes on like a whole different meaning now, because it does show you like it is a song that's basically about struggling with depression,
right.
and I think that when this happens, when it's like a suicide death, it kind of hits harder just because you know that they were struggling with that. And I just don't think, like, depression's getting a lot more attention than it used to back in the day. I still don't think that it's getting the attention that it deserves in
Right.
the public eye.
Like think of Shadow of the Day.
Mhm.
Like you just listen to those lyrics and you're just like you can feel like there's something going on there.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think this is like, it's kind of like, when you kind of think about it, like, to correlate, like, you know, the recent suicides of NFL players because of concussions.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like it's not, obviously it's not the same. But there's something in there about like the suicide rate of musicians.
Well, I think one of the thing is like, and I've talked to multiple people about this. Just it seems like creative people in general just tend to struggle with that a little bit more, and they kind of use that as fuel in their creativity to kind of like get that out and get a release of that.
Oh right, 100%. I feel you on that one. Like I don't know any creative person that doesn't have some kind of like anxiety or depression.
Yeah, it seems like, I think that's one of the reasons why the sort of creative communities are so tight knit,
Right.
because it's just one of those things where like you meet somebody and you just click with them immediately just because you get that vibe of that you just understand where you're coming from.
Right, and you don't like, and it's always such a shitty feeling, though. Like I don't know, like when I've had like a couple of friends commit suicide, and it's always just like a weirdly shitty feeling
Mhm.
about it. And like this is like one of the things like you probably wouldn't have known he was like depressed or anything like that unless you like seriously sit down and listen to the lyrics of his music, and it's just kind of like, god damn, dude.
Well, I mean, like, and one of the things that comes out of things like this that bothers me so much is you always have those people that will come out and they'll just be like, it's so selfish that they did that. That's selfish.
Right,
Like,
that's
if you
bullshit.
say that it's selfish, like, go fuck yourself. Like, it's so challenging in that situation just to, like, get up out of bed every morning.
I don't think it's fair to be like, you have all these people, why take, like, I don't think that's a fair thing
No,
to
that's
say. Like,
that's not fair, because
like-
you don't know what's going on through their head.
right, instead of saying that, like, I don't think it's fair that you're thinking about suicide, be like, why are you thinking about it? Like, what is pushing you to do this? And then you, as a friend who is helping a friend deal with suicide, don't be like, dude, if you do it, it's selfish. Be like, there's a lot of things to live for. Like, for you, live for your, like, be like, there's a lot of things to live for yourself.
Yeah, and one of the things is like, suicide is never something that's looked at by the person as selfish. It's looked at
As a release.
As a release. It's looked at as a thing of like, I go through this every single day, and I have so many of these thoughts that just build up over the course of a day, and I just need like an escape from this, like, somehow. And they get to that point where they think that there's nothing left, so they just end up taking their life because they can't figure out a way out of it. And that's really sad, and I think that is one of the reasons why we need to devote more time into understanding depression, because it is a mental illness. Like, despite what people say, it's not something.
It's
like,
a disease,
yeah.
dude. It's a disease. Like, obviously, like back in the day, like that's the thing that like nowadays it actually is shown a little bit more. Like, everyone knows that it's a thing. Most people aren't like toughen up. You know, like come on, like 5 years ago, people would be like, toughen up. You gotta toughen up.
Back in the day, everybody used to just be like, well, you should just stop being sad.
Right, and that's bullshit. Like, if you look, like, just suicide in general, like, depression and suicide in general, it's very high. It's very high in males.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, we were always taught to, like, repress, like, any, you know.
Repress feelings. That's kind of like what we were taught. I think a lot of this, I think people are just kind of like that in general, even if they aren't raised that way. There's just things that you just don't want to talk about.
Right.
And you end up balling that up, and that just keeps getting pressured, and it just adds up over all the years. And then you have those people that, this is one of the reasons why, like, I don't know, I get so kind of angry about this stuff, is because some people just don't understand that you do not have to have a reason to be depressed. Sometimes you are just depressed.
Right.
And you can't help it. Sometimes there are factors that lead into depression.
Obviously,
and
like
cause
shitty
depression.
life, like things like that. But sometimes you're born with it.
Yeah, but there definitely are people out there that live like a perfectly good life. You know, they had like a wonderful upbringing and stuff, plenty of friends, but they're just sad all the time, and they don't know why.
Honestly, I can really, and I know you can too, and you don't have to get into it, but like I know I can really understand how depression works, because like when my depression hits, it's not like I'm mopey or sad. It's like I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
Like my body just goes onto autopilot, and you just kind of like you gotta go through that day like just being like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's how like I could like how I can like, if someone who doesn't have depression, if I could explain it, it's like your body goes on autopilot, and like it's just, you don't feel anything forever, how long it lasts.
Well, and it always hits me a little bit harder when I see these people that I looked up to growing up and that inspired me to want to go out and do things die of suicide, just because I know where they're coming from with that feeling. Because, like, I mean, I won't get into the details of them, but there are factors that led me into having a more severe depression. But when I was a child, I can remember from, like, my earliest memories always just being sad and never knowing why.
Mm-hmm.
And then I grew up and got older, and finally it just kind of hit me, and I went to like therapists and stuff and got actual diagnosis, and they're just like, yeah, you have clinical depression.
Right. That, I think that was like, I don't know about you, but like when I went to a therapist, because like I didn't know what was going on at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually was the reason I went to a therapist, because we went to a church group and we were like filling out a thing, and like my guidance counselor got it back, and she's like, I mean, I'm gonna set you up with a therapist because like it says you're depressed, and I just want to see, you know, how you handle it. And like when the therapist got back to me, I'm like, I don't know why it would be like, I was like, honestly, like when you're younger, you think depression is like sadness.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be like you're sad. It just is like, depression is like you don't feel anything. Like there's nothing. And I was like, I don't, like when I first got told it was depression, it was like, well, I'm not sad or anything, like it's like, it's not sadness, it's just nothing, it's a void.
Yeah, depression can take multiple forms.
Oh god, yeah, it's just void, and like that's the thing like that always hits me, like when like someone dies at like 41, like yeah, you lived your life for the most part, but at the same time there's probably a lot more.
Yeah, there's still a lot of life experiences after that point that you miss out on.
Right. And like we said, we don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't think they, like, you know, I don't even think like his bandmates know why. Like obviously, "Numb" really is a very understandable song right now.
Yeah.
When you know,
A lot of the songs are very understandable now.
right?
It
Like it
definitely
kind of like
puts things into
weird.
perspective.
It puts it into a perspective that like, you know, as kids you're like, dude, I understand where you're coming from, and like I wish we could tell him like, dude, we understand where you're coming from. Don't do it. Like you've lived this long, and you've inspired us. Don't do it. And I think that's like it's really hard to like have that thought that like we talked about, like everyone has had Hybrid Theory and all like in their fucking CD player at one time, and like you've understood like at least one of their songs really gets to you, like we were talking Shadow of the Day always gets me. It's a very understandable song. Like that song's like Keep On Keeping On, and like it's just kind of like shitty now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. This was one of the few times where when I heard about celebrity death, I actually felt like my heart sink a little bit.
Right.
When I heard about it.
Right, and it's just like, I guess we did this because we had just a lot of thoughts, but like I think my last thought for this is like, friend or not, or like even someone who just randomly like listens to this, like just, and you feel like that, you can talk.
Yeah.
You can talk.
I think that's one of the important things for everybody to understand is you may not want to talk about it, and I definitely understand that because I didn't want to talk about it with anybody when I was going through everything, when I hit like a really, really bad spot, but it is the talking about it that is why I'm still here.
Right.
Because I finally hit that point where I was like, if I don't say anything, I'm probably not going to be here tomorrow.
Right. Like, I think reason why we're bringing this up and we're talking about it is that, like, if you are feeling like that, like, we're fucking random strangers. Like, obviously, like, you don't have to feel weird talking about it. Like, no one's going to judge you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, in general, talk about it. Like, talk about it to a stranger. Like, as weird as that sounds, talk about it to, like, a random stranger. Like, like, someone that's not going to judge you. Like, because they obviously don't fucking know you. Like, talk. Let someone know how you feel. Don't let it just inside.
Yeah. And I mean, like, there's places that you can call and stuff to talk to them. They just give like a friendly ear.
Right.
To vent to.
Like, I'm going to drop suicide prevention hotline, the suicide prevention website, all of that on this one, because like there won't be any of our shit on it. It'll just be like, if you need to talk, this is the number. You really should.
And I wanted to talk about this not only because it's one of my huge idols from my childhood and even like now still, but also because I think I don't know, suicide is becoming something that's happening so frequently.
Right,
now.
Like just someone killed themselves in town like 2 weeks ago. Like it is always going to be there. You know what I mean? Like
it's always going to be there, but I think it's important to, I guess, kind of give like a friendly voice.
Right,
out
and
there.
like help, like we were talking about, like talk to someone. It's hard, 100%. Like, dude, it's hard as fuck.
It's super hard, but I think if you are a person that's struggling with talking about it, I can say you'd be very surprised by the response you'll get from talking about it. It's not negative in any way. People tend to be very understanding about this.
Right, and it's just I don't know if you have anything else, but like I said, like the last thing I want to just bring up is that like just to anyone who doesn't understand suicide or depression, is that like you can't walk in someone's shoes. You don't know if they're like smiling. Obviously, I'm a smiley dude, but like when my depression hits, I still put on that smile. But like everyone's fighting a battle. Don't ask. Don't ask the question, how could he do it? How could they do it? You got to ask the question, why?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. I think why is something that needs to be brought up more.
Then how could he? How could that person do that to their fans or to their family, to their friends?
If you're going to put a how in the question, it should be how can we prevent any more?
Right,
of this?
exactly. So, like I said, none of our shit's gonna be posted on this. The only thing that's gonna be tagged is suicide prevention, suicide discussion, music, like, you know, all that. Like I said, the suicide hotline is gonna be linked down in our link. The only explanation I'm gonna have is we talk about the death of Chester Bennett and suicide, and how we can prevent it, and all that. So I'm Keenan Banyas.
I'm Ryan Freeman.
Try to have a good day, guys.